Hi, and welcome to another edition of Caldwell Chats, a series where we like to highlight new and exciting innovations, awesome innovators, and of course, intellectual property. My name is Iab Yohannes, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Creative Services here at Caldwell Intellectual Property Law. Let's just get right into this. So today we have a couple of special guests to talk about branding and startups. We have Larry Allen, entrepreneur and founder of the fashion brand Touché by Je Suis, and we have our very own trademark attorney, Julie Tolek. Welcome, you two. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having
Thanks.
us.
Excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk trademark, fashion, and branding.
It's like
All
all
right.
our favorite things. My
Right.
favorite things
My
anyway.
favorite foods as well.
Right.
And you're wearing one of your sweaters today, actually, aren't you, Larry?
Yes, I am.
That's really great. So I guess let's start off with asking you, Larry, tell us a little bit about like how you decided to start your clothing line and how you came up with the name Je Suis, Touché by Je Suis.
So basically, for a long time, I've been wanting to get into fashion. So I just started a hat brand that I never really got off the ground. And a friend of mine's, he had a clothing line, and it really took off, but he didn't copyright his name, trademark the name. So that's why when I got into it, the first thing I did, is to trademark it because you don't nothing worse than getting something off the ground and having it taken away from you after you put in all this hard work. So I came up with the name Touche. Was me and my son, and we was just talking about starting a clothing line. I said we should sell Touche T-shirts. Touche representing acknowledgement of a clever idea, such and such. And by just sweet is a little bit more deeper in meaning because like on some of the shirts it has X314. That's for Exodus 3:14. When Moses asked God, who do I tell him your name is? And they said, tell him I am that I am. Just we translate to I am. So everything is inspired by God and everything. So that's where the name comes from.
Really awesome story.
I love that.
So I guess also like in terms of like starting your own company and like starting your own fashion brand, how do you have the time? So do you also have a job? And if so, how do you find the time to do like do you sleep? Is my question to you.
Refrigeration tech. So like last week I did like 63 hours. So I'm used to long days, and like when you're a technician, there's no set time of work. You go somewhere, you don't leave until the job is done. You don't just say, hey, it's 4 o'clock. I'm going home. I see you tomorrow. You gotta get the job done. So therefore my stamina for work is really long. And plus I got kids and everything. So this is
Mm.
nothing. Yeah, I do get tired, but I push through it. A cup of coffee, maybe a French roast will get me through the day.
Yes, and ambition. I do see how that translates. Also, your day job translates into got to put a lot of hours in, especially with a company just to start it.
Yeah, it is a lot of hours. So I spend a lot of time thinking of designs and ideas, and you want everything to be done right. You don't just want to rush something in. It's like, and it starts to collapse on you. So that's why it's best to take your time and focus on your approach to things.
Mm, very true. And it seems like you've done a good job of that,
Thank you.
judging from the clothing that I see right in front of me.
Yeah, and if I can jump in too. So this is one of the conversations that Larry and I had, speaking of doing everything right, was, about the quality of the fabric that he's using. And, he wants to make sure not only that things are done right from a business perspective, but also from the actual the tech specs of the product and what he is putting out there. And so when we were discussing um quality of the fabric, it's kind of like branding within branding. Because if you
Mm,
use a bad fabric, and we were, I'm not going to mention any specific names of fabrics and companies that use bad fabric, but we talked specifically about, if you get a shirt that's XYZ brand, it's bad quality, like before you even get it, because the brand is known for having poor quality shirts versus another brand, ABC brand, that is known for having good quality shirts. So it's kind of a double layer of branding to think about
Hmm.
when selecting fabric that is going to represent his brand of his fashion. So it's not always just what we see on the outside, but there is a lot of thought, I think, that goes into it that people don't realize until they are doing it behind the scenes, like Larry's doing.
Hmm.
The best things to me is that when you buy clothing, you should be comfortable in it. Even if you're not going out, even if you just want to go sit in your living room and on your couch, you should be comfortable with what you're wearing. So it should
Hmm.
always be good to put it on and everything.
Hmm. And I love this concept of, you know, fabric and like the quality of the fabric being an integral part of the brand, for a fashion brand. And it's my previous experience, I found that to be true as well. So kudos to you for really taking the time to select fabrics and make sure that that quality is important. Um, and I guess a question as well is what kind of brand is Touché by Je Suis? What's the ethos of the brand? What kind of clothing are you? What kind of lifestyle are you trying to portray in your brand?
Well, I'm trying to portray, an urban lifestyle and everything. So, you can be comfortable wherever you go. It's basically going to be an everyday wear. I do have another line, but I'm not going to mention it now. It'll be a more high end that'll come out in the future. It'll complement Touche in a surprising way. The lifestyle that I'm going with is a philosophy of always looking for excellence. Always being prepared to be at your best, no matter what the situation is.
Hmm, I love that. Um, And then also, my question is like and this is probably where we can bring trademarks into this is how has your intellectual property journey been, specifically with trademarks, throughout the stages of building your company? Like, did you think of trademarks early on? How did you learn that protecting the brand is important? And I think you kind of mentioned that a little bit from a friend of yours in the past.
I learned
Learning from your friends' mistakes, like, right? At what point in your journey were you able to apply that?
Yeah, well, as soon as I seen him, because I still speak with him and I get advice from him. So as soon as that happened, it was a lot of things I didn't know from the legal point of view. So I'm like, hold on, I was surprised that people really take their time out to trademark things that they're not going to use just to use it as a bargaining tool. They got people out there that do that. So when you do come across a name like my cousin, he's started an online clothing line. Well, an online clothing store. He doesn't sell clothes. And I gave him an excellent name. I won't mention it. Excellent. And he went to use that name, and somebody owns it, and they don't sell anything. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I said, before I even get started, let me make sure that it's mine, so I can put my all into it.
Hmm. That's really interesting that you found someone that actually has trademarked that name, however, doesn't sell anything. And Julie, what's your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I mean, it is a good point because for one thing that differentiates trademarks from other types of intellectual property is the fact that at some point you do have to prove to the USPTO that you're using the mark in commerce. But it does allow you to apply ahead of time with the intent to use that mark in the future. So you do often find trademarks that have been filed for, and they might be in that pending application phase, or they've received
Mm.
approval, but they haven't submitted that evidence of use in commerce yet. So they aren't officially registered yet. So they're in that kind of limbo period. And if they end up not submitting that evidence of use, then the trademark will not register and it will go abandoned. But during that time, that name is essentially blocked from anyone else using it or registering it because it is in that pending period still. It's still
Mhm.
ahead of the line for anyone else that would want to try and use that. So it's quite interesting. And I have had clients that have gone back to look at marks of names that they wanted to use originally that were being held without showing use in commerce. And later on, they've gone abandoned because nobody ever filed that evidence of use and they've gone to re register and take the name themselves. So it's
Mm,
always good to keep an eye on those, especially if it looks like no one's actually using them because they could just be holding them to try and sell them, like, like
Uh,
Larry mentioned. Because
mm,
I'm
eventually
gonna.
they do have to show use.
Okay,
mm.
sorry, bro. I'm gonna have my cousin contact you about that then.
Huh.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, I work with clients that are in all points in the timeline of trademark registration, whether it's at the beginning and they're still brainstorming about brand names, or whether they've fallen into kind of the situation that Larry was talking about, where they've started marketing something with a name and then they've gone to try to register a trademark only to find that the trademark's already been registered.
Mm,
And I've worked with people that have registered their trademarks, but maybe haven't submitted the proper evidence of use. So now they have some trouble with the USPTO asking for more information. So no matter where you are on the timeline, you still have to kind of consider all of these things because you're either going to need them in the future or you need them as you're applying for your trademark.
mm. And Julie, follow-up question to you is, so what happens, if a client comes and says, "Hey, I have this name for my company, and I've been using it for X amount of years," and then unfortunately they find out that it's already trademarked. Like, what would happen in that instance?
It's such a complicated answer, and it depends on so many
Absolutely.
things. Call me first, of course, I would say, in that case. But essentially, I mean, there's what I say to clients in this situation usually is there's a balance, and every client's risk tolerance and budget is different. So if a business has been already out there marketing with a certain name and they're well known for that name, then there is an emotional as well as financial tie to that name already, right? So that's one thing to consider. What is it going to cost emotionally and financially to either rebrand or to maybe try to differentiate the brand in a way that's different from the one that's already registered slightly, so at least they can use the same name but put a different spin on it? How much is it going to cost? Again, there's that emotional cost as well, because
Mhm,
I mean, brands are people's babies, and I understand that, and that's why I take things personally for my clients in these situations, because I've experienced that when you can't register something and you want to, and you've poured your heart and soul into it. So there are all these factors to consider when trying to determine, do you rebrand? Do you come up with a new name? Do you try to keep going with it? If you keep using it, can the other company come after you for using it? How different is the product? Can you create a new product? There are a lot of things to think about in that case. So
mm,
I, was laughing when I say call me, but really since there are so many things to consider, you really have to work with a professional um, who knows trademarks and who can see all sides of this to kind of help you figure it out. In the end, it's going to be the business owner's decision because only they can determine what financially and emotionally makes most sense to them. But, we are here to guide in whatever direction makes sense.
mm. Really interesting. And I guess, oh
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
Backtrack because you went the question you asked me. You also asked me about the experience with intellectual property. It's been great. Like it's been easy from the beginning. I can always get in touch with them when I need to and everything. It's responsive to any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
And I guess Larry, also for you, what has being a father taught you? And like, how does that translate into you being a business owner? Because I know that you are a parent of a few children.
Taught me patience. You know, you got to be extremely patient and everything. And I do get their input on things. They want to model the clothes and they like to see how it progresses and how it blossoms into reality. I think my son be really more surprised than actually my daughter. you know but the way it all happened was that it's just my whole life I've been into fashion. I love I love beautiful things, art, colors, you know, things of that nature. So one day I said, well, I think I would be great at actually producing clothes and stuff.
Hmm. And I did peek your Instagram page, and so I was wondering, you know, for social media, how have you used social media for branding and also for sales, and has that been a good tool for you?
It's been good. It's been an experience because when I was younger, social media wasn't out. So you have to learn how to navigate it in the right ways and figure out how it actually works and stuff. Like I know how it works on a personal level, but how it works on a professional level takes a little bit more um getting used to.
Yeah. And Julie, a question for you: Does how does social media play into branding and for trademarks?
I mean, social media and branding in general, I think the three of us here can attest that it's huge. It can make or break a brand, honestly, nowadays, if it's done um, carelessly or, there's algorithm. I mean, I don't know the technical nuances either behind the scenes of Instagram, for example, but I know I've heard people talk about, the algorithm changes and, now just like liking something with a heart is not enough. You have to like save it. If you save it, it gives the business a higher boost in the algorithm than, just saving it. So, and stuff like that is always changing. So I think it's, in general, I would say the more you harness social media to get the word out there, the better, because then at least no matter how the algorithm is changing, you know that you're still getting content out there about your product or your service. And from a trademark application perspective, sometimes we can use social media posts as part of the application. And so that's also something to think about. It's not helpful necessarily in every situation, but frequently we do use screenshots, especially of Instagram posts, especially if there's a way to order and there's, in the caption, there's pricing information and basically showing how the products are for sale is really useful on Instagram, especially for trademark application purposes.
Hmm, really interesting. And I guess, Larry, also then just to wrap things up, so what are your goals for the future of Touché by Je Suis?
Well, I also want to backtrack for a split second. Sorry about that.
Of course.
Because the way the fencing, because I use the fencing thing for my brand. And the way that came up was a while ago. I remember it was talks of the Olympics coming to Boston. What was this, like a few years ago? And I said, well, what can I get my daughter into that's in the Olympics? And I realized fencing is in the Olympics. And I said, oh, I think she'll be great at that. And I always did have a curiosity for fencing, watching it and everything. And I realized she would be great at it. So I put her into it and everything. And we used the fencing theme and everything for as our symbol. It's called the Touche Fencer. You haven't seen them yet, but it will be out really soon.
Looking forward to it.
And
Uh,
in the future of Touche, my dreams is that actually have a store with the Touche banner going across it. In reality, I would love to just be able to have a professional painter in the store. You pick out the shirt, and they can actually just paint the logo on the shirt right there in the store for you.
hmm,
That's so cool.
I really
Thank
look forward to attending your opening party one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, we're the first people to get invitations. I'll remind you.
you. You don't have to remind me. I don't forget anyone who's was there for me.
Hmm. And last question for you, Larry. Do you have any advice for future aspiring Black entrepreneurs? Anyone that wants to start up a company? Um, and yeah, I would love to hear some 2 cents on that.
Yes, my advice for people would be, stay motivated, stay focused and take your time. Don't lose your ambition and everything. Some days you're gonna reach, some days you're gonna feel like it's a little harder than others, but go with your heart and always stay focused on your dreams and your goal. Like they said, if you build it, they will come.
Hmm. Well said. Thank you. Thank you for those inspiring words, Larry, and thank you for taking the time to talk with us. And thank you to everyone that's here listening. And last but not least, tell us how we can reach out to your brand, see your brand, Touché.
But right now, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. And on Instagram, because you can't put the hype. Sorry, real quick. My notifications, they're not, is it muting my mic a little bit?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. So right now on Instagram, you can't put the hyphen over the E, so it's gonna be spelled like touch dot by Je Suis on Instagram, and it's the same for Facebook. I got a Touche phone line and a Touche email that you can reach me at. The information is on the Instagram page and everything. So right now I'm also building a website, so that'll come in the near future too.
Can people order from you yet, Larry?
Yeah, yes, they can order from me if they go right on Instagram and stuff. They can order from me.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Larry, and thank you so much, Julie, for this series of Caldwell chats. And we'll be sure to put the Instagram information so you can also get your Touche by Je Suis sweater. I probably will be making a personal order myself.
I
Uh,
want you to.
Yeah, t-shirts too and sweatsuits. I think when they see the sweatsuits up there, they'll probably fall in love with them. I call this one. This is called Elysium White. So we got different unique colors and everything. If you go on the Instagram page, you'll see more details.
Great. Well, thank you again, you two, and thank you. And until next time for Caldwell Chats. And this is Yab, and I am signing out. Great to see you guys, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.